All right, today we are going to talk about your 2025 digital marketing plan, how to maximize your lead flow in the new year. So we do this every December around this time, kind of slow down, review, not on this call, but just think about how things went in 2024. And we plan ahead for 2025. We think about the leads we need to generate, how we're going to generate them, any trends we need to consider, and just making sure we're covering all the basics of what we should be doing in order that we can hit the goals that we set now for the year 2025 in 2025. Okay, so first we're going to talk about the biggest marketing trends for 2025. We are going to set clear goals. We're going to realign your marketing strategy if anything is missing. We're going to plan your focus for accomplishing it. We're going to talk about setting a budget, picking the right channels, important trends you need to consider, everything you need to do to set yourself up for massive success in 2025 and beyond. And so to start, I want you to head on over to our website, garagedoormarketers.com/2025-planner. Just go ahead and download that and work through it as we talk here today. It's not gated. You don't have to give an email or anything. It's just there for you to download. So grab it, work through it, and I hope that you find it to be helpful as we do this and as you think about planning your year. And I'll be moving this thing around throughout the presentation because it always seems to get in the way of what I want to be talking about. So who am I? Why should you listen to me? I wrote the book Online Marketing for Garage Door Companies. We've worked with dozens and dozens of garage door companies on these very things. I founded and own Garage Door Marketers. And before that, and I still own, um, you know, same digital marketing agency I founded over 10, 12, 13, 14 years ago when there was no yet gray in my beard. And I've just been doing this a long time. We've seen this all before. And so the things that I talk about today are not theory, but these are things that we do in and out, day in, day out for our customers and for ourselves. So I hope you find it to be useful. Like I said, we work with garage door companies. And, before we get started or, at any point, if you want more free resources, just go to this web address, offers.garagemarketers.com/get more estimates. We have a marketing checklist there where you can go through, kind of assess some things that you may be missing that we identify here today. You can get a digital copy of the book. We have an industry PPC dashboard sitting there for you to check out. And um, you can sign up for Garage Door Marketers University, which is just kind of more content around the things that we are discussing here today about how to get more leads and grow your business. So without further ado, let's get into your 2025 digital marketing plan. So the first thing we want to talk about is the biggest marketing trends. And really the 800-pound gorilla here is AI. And if you're not following it, you should start. I was a young teenager when the internet started, at least became publicly available. I had a 300 baud modem. So that's the time frame that I was in. And so I watched and have watched the internet, start from a consumer standpoint and grow and take over and really change everything that we do. There were no cell phones, in any kind of appreciable way. There was no social media. There was no Google. There was none of this stuff. Okay, so obviously the internet has had a massive impact on our everyday life, and I think that AI will have at least as much of an impact over a similar time frame, if not a greater impact. So this is a big deal, and it is going to impact your business. It already probably is. It's going to change the tools that you use. It's going to change the way that customers engage with you. It's going to change a lot of stuff. Okay. So it's something to pay attention. If you and if you're if you've got some gray in your beard like me, if you would go back and tell your younger self, hey, you should have paid attention to the internet sooner, this is the same kind of thing. Pay attention to this now and be aware of it. Okay. Other things that we see really increasing adoption and desire for both online scheduling and two-way messaging. So people, especially the youngers, the Zoomers, you know, these younger people, they don't necessarily want to get on a phone call with you. They don't necessarily want to chat. They just want to text. They want to WhatsApp. They want to do these things, right? So try to find a way to give them that, and even more so, they don't want to have to call you on a phone just to schedule an estimate or schedule a discussion. So find ways to let them schedule these things with you ahead of time and do that. Just reduce the friction for a potential customer in ways that they want to deal with you. Okay. You know, again, on the AI, it's some of the first things that you'll see if you haven't already, and I've built some of these tools already for my own use, is things like AI chat, AI voice receptionist, AI outbound calling. I built one. I called 15,000 people with it. Um, and things like authentic video content. Okay, as my camera goes crazy here. So one thing which I haven't really heard people talking about, but I think is very true, and we'll hear more of over the next couple of years, this AI now is so good that we are already getting to a point where you don't know if you can believe that the video that you're seeing online is real. Okay, and that's going to have very big uh, repercussions for how we engage with online content and how we engage with companies. And so, one of the biggest things that you can do, and this is true now, I just think it'll be increasingly true in the future, is to put out video content like I'm doing here. I was doing this before AI was a household word. I did the same video last year. Nobody was talking about AI yet, not really. The nerds were, but nobody knew about it, not in the same way. Um, and one of the best things you can do for your business is to let people know who you are. Because people like to do business with real people, especially as we start seeing these self-driving cars and weirdo robots ambling all over the place. People are still going to value people. They're going to want to work with people, and they're going to want to know that they can trust you and count on you and rely on you. And the best way to do that is to put out video content for them. Now, the content that I'm putting out for you is maybe not obviously the content you're going to put out for your garage door customers, but you might put out a video of you saying, "Hey, you know, here's what you consider when shopping for a new garage door," and just record a video talking about garage doors. Talk about springs, talk about things to look at, garage door maintenance, how are you taking care of it, whatever. Just do some content. Even just have an intro video on your website. Like you have an About Us page, record a little video being like, hey, thanks for checking us out. Here's my team. Just get yourself into the content that your customers are going to consume. It will pay dividends for you now. It will more so as people begin to wonder if this company that they're seeing online has even any real people at it, or if it's just an AI front to generate leads for some man behind the wall. You know what I'm saying? So these are the key trends that I'm seeing. And with that said, we're going to go right into let's set some clear goals. Okay. And so think about what your goals are for 2025. This is the perfect time of year to do it. It's the holiday season. It's a good time to reflect on the last year, to consider the year coming ahead, and what are you going to do differently? Did you plan your goals for 2024? Did you hit them? Did you not? Why not? So you want to think about that, and you want to think about where you want to go, why you want to go there. And if you don't do that, you're kind of like the sailboat. You might go somewhere, you might go west, you might go north. It's if you're not really trying to steer where you're going, you'll go somewhere. It just might not be where you were thinking you would go. Whereas if you have clear goals, it's really like putting wind in your sails, right? You're deciding where you want to go and you're aiming to get there and you're working a plan to do so. That's how powerful goals can be. And that's why you set them and that's why you come up with a plan to execute them. So again, go to garagemarketers.com/2025-planner, download it. We'll work through it a little bit as we go through this, and then there's one more thing to download in a minute here. But before we do that, think about what your numbers are. Okay, what's your average monthly revenue? How many jobs are you running per month? You know, think about other key metrics like what's your average ticket? What's your average conversion rate of inbound leads? How many trucks do you have running? If you have something like Service Titan, it's going to help you understand some of these things. But you have to really know the numbers of your business in order to make realistic and sensible plans for what you're going to do differently in 2025. So when you have those numbers, then think big and think, okay, what do I want my annual revenue when I'm looking back, when I'm doing my taxes now, I'm talking to my accountant for the next year, we're talking about what my annual revenue was in 2025. What do you want that number to be? Make it reasonable. If you did 1 million in 2024, don't, unless you have a very, unless you did this last year, you worked your plan, you know your numbers, and you're like, man, I know I can hit 5 million this year if I do X, Y, or Z. Great, then do that. But if you haven't, and you don't know your numbers and you don't know these things, then just set a realistic plan. Hey, I did a million in 2024. That's awesome. Let's get to 1.5. Let's add 500K in revenue. How are we going to do that? How many trucks do we need to do that? When do we need to buy them? How do we plan for that? Think through these things and just get a rough plan in place. And I have another tool that you can get to help you think through that. If you go to garagedoormarketers.com/2025-worksheet, it'll let you start playing around with the numbers. Okay. And so think about what your goal is. That's going to break it down into a monthly revenue target. And then when you know what your average ticket value is, then you know on average how many service calls, if you're just looking at service calls, or how many jobs, if you don't know, you can play with this, you can set up whatever you want. But how many jobs would be required to hit your monthly goal if that's your average ticket value? Okay, so that's $750, it's 111 jobs. Okay, what percent of incoming leads do you convert? Is it 45%? Is it higher? Is it lower? What's that number? But let's say it's 45%, then that means in order to get those 111 111 jobs, you're going to need 247 leads. And let's say your blended cost per generated lead from paid, excuse me, uh, you know, looking at retargeting, I mean, just adding all the factors together. This is not Google. That'd be a great conversion, cost per lead for PPC, certainly higher than that. Just mix them all together. What's your cost per lead when you spend money? If it's $30, then you're going to need to spend, in order to generate those 247 leads, about $7,500. Okay, so you start from your revenue goal, you understand the number of jobs you need, you understand your conversion rate, you understand your cost per lead, and then you understand the ad spend you need in order to generate that. Okay, that's really how you run this. And then now you have a clear path towards setting your goal, which is, okay, I need these leads. Here's what they cost me. Here's what I got to spend. Let's go. That's at a very high level how you can do this if you haven't in detail worked out the numbers before. Okay, so think about, what is your goal for 2025? How many leads will you need monthly to get there? And then you're going to need a plan to get those leads. And digital marketing is not the only thing, right? So, in the worksheet, there's also marketing budget planner where you can start thinking about where you're going to invest these various things. And we always recommend, hey, if your revenue is $1 million or whatever it is, you should spend on average 10% of that gross number on your marketing budget. Okay. If you want to grow more, spend more. You can spend less if you want, but don't recommend it. You got to spend to grow. That's just the nature of the beast. That's how this works, right? So that's going to give you your total marketing budget. Now, break that into an average budget and then allocate it. Is it all going into online marketing? Do you do offline marketing? Do you do things like postcards? Do you do things like radio? Maybe TV? Have you considered those before? Do you want a budget for that? You want to try it, see how it works. You don't just have to just pour things into Google Ads. It's not a bad idea, but it doesn't hurt to invest in other things as well. So you want to think about how you do that also. I don't know why my camera keeps doing this. It's annoying, but it is what it is. Things like repeat business. Maybe you offer referral, dollars or gift cards, or you invest in kind of like a high end email marketing software that, does database reactivation campaigns and things like that. Okay, there's a cost to that. You want to account for that. So the point of all this is to get you thinking about, okay, I have a goal. how am I going to get there? I have to get the leads. I have to market. How do I want to market? What have I done before? What might I do differently? Okay. And just put a plan to it. And, when you have an online marketing budget, how do you want to break things down? Hire an agency partner like us. Well, we've got agency fees we got to pay for, but we also got to pay for a lot of ad spend. Am I going to dump all that in PPC, and Google Guarantee or LSA? Do I want to invest in some link building and things like that? It really depends on your situation, but you want to think about those things and make those decisions now, so that you can, jump right into the new year and execute. So let's talk a little bit more about your marketing strategy. Okay, and so we'll go through just the basics here. We talk about the accelerated growth model. If you watch my webinars, and we have a backlog of them at this point, you can go through all these things. But we talk about, how do you do this at a very high level, right? What does the accelerated growth model look like? It all starts with driving leads. If you don't have leads, you don't have customers. If you don't have customers, you don't have a business, right? So you got to drive leads. You always got to drive leads. My main focus in the business is driving leads, and also product. But, as a business owner, you're always, keeping an eye on the lifeblood of your business, which is customers, both existing and new. That's how you do, that's why and how you do what you do. Okay, so you got to drive leads. And so there's many different factors that make that up. Okay. When you've been driving leads, then you want to think about maximizing conversions. In other words, getting the most number of leads or sales, different levels of conversion, um, from that traffic, right? And the third part of that is optimize those results. So you're driving leads, you're maximizing conversions, and now you've got all this data. Okay, what's working well? What's maybe not working so well? What could be better? And then you take that information and you feed it back into your lead driving apparatus, and you just kind of go in a circle. And that's the accelerated growth model. It's a positive reinforcement loop. Drive leads, maximize conversions. How can I do both of those better? Okay, let's try that. Got more leads, got more conversions, keep optimizing. That's what you do. Okay. And so let's get into some practical details, right? And first, we're going to talk about organic SEO. Okay. And willing to bet that most of you know what organic SEO is. It's the great granddaddy of digital marketing. Everybody knows what it is. There's 8 billion, maybe not 8 billion, maybe there's only 8 million, maybe there's 80 million. There's a lot of content out there about organic SEO and what you have to do. Still important, still true. It has been lately the lowest source of leads across our portfolio. Next slide will show it's like 8%. But I actually expect that to go up in 2025 and in 2026 and beyond. And the reason for that is that Google has been such a mammoth that it's really driven things toward paid and towards maps, where they also sneak some paid in there. So they've leveraged their monopoly to extract more money from you, the business owner that would like to get customers from Google, but they're losing their grip on it. OpenAI is working with Bing. Everybody's running their AIs. Google has been behind, although they've got probably the most robust infrastructure, so I wouldn't count them out. But I think what you're going to see is a little bit, and plus they lost the antitrust suit, which is great. I hate Google. They're an awful company, awful people. Their support is terrible. You in the garager business, of all home service businesses, should despise them the most. They're so awful to you people. They're just a horrible, horrible company, and they deserve everything bad that's coming to them. And so what that means is there should be more diversification back towards SEO, because what is going to happen? These large language models, they're trained on the internet. What's the internet? It's a bunch of web pages. How do they understand what the web pages are? The organic SEO, right? So we're back to that. And so when you have tools like Perplexity or, OpenAI search or ChatGPT search, whatever they call it, and now Bing getting stronger because they're doing better, because Google's going to lose some of that monopoly, organic SEO becomes more important again, because now you're not really even just optimizing for Google. Now you're just making sure that your website is optimized for these entities and these search terms that these models are looking for information about. Okay, and so I'm not gonna hammer in the details here, but organic SEO has always been important. I think its importance will increase over the next couple of years. Right? Again, like I said, we've seen as low as 8% of leads coming from organic SEO. Maps and ads are the big guys. I expect this to increase. And this especially for garage doors is especially low. It's higher in other industries that I track. Um, More like 10, 15, sometimes 20%. But I think all of that's going up. I think it's going to be more competitive, which is good for you. It should drive down overall cost per leads as these incumbents basically have to charge less for getting leads from their platform. It's a good thing for you. All right, paid search, and that's what we're talking about here is paid search. But another nice thing is there has been more channels, and I expect that there will be more channels. Places like Perplexity and ChatGPT, they're trying subscription models, and I think that will exist to some degree. But I'd be very surprised if they also don't go ahead and, to some degree, have a free tier which is ad subsidized. I don't know how they're going to pass up that revenue, especially given how expensive it is to train these models. They can't just pretend, they're very, very expensive. Billions and billions and billions of dollars to train these things. I don't see how they avoid somehow going to an ads model, which means over time you'll be talking about running ads on ChatGPT search and maybe Perplexity if it lasts, and Bing ads will get a new focus. Okay, so that's in the future. In the right now, what we've seen, especially over the last 12 months or so, is Nextdoor ads has really grown up a lot and become a really great source of leads. So my message here is you're going to want to diversify your paid search portfolio, especially because Google is such a pain to deal with. You guys know it. You got to get verification just to run ads. Got to get advanced verification to get into Google Guarantee. Scammers break through it no problem. Legitimate companies are burned and can't get through it. It's crazy. It's awful. It's a horrible thing. Our customers deal with it all the time. It's a horrible thing. And so what we recommend and what we're increasingly turning to is we'll work on Google with you. We'll get you there. But to start, let's get you rocking in Nextdoor. Let's get things going on Facebook ads. Let's test the lead ads there. And that's not necessarily for service stuff, but you can you can, depending if you do installs of new doors and things like that, you can generate that business there. Certainly can generate leads for it. So there's different things that you can do, but you want to leverage these platforms so that you can get paid results. And when Google comes and you run through that gauntlet, great. But you want to diversify out of it now and in the future. It's not just going to be Google dominated like it has been, and that's a great thing. Okay. Why do paid search campaigns fail? Just for something practical. Really, it's just setting up, this changes all the time. I'll give you an example. Google's been pushing everybody towards PMax. When the PMax first came out, it was horrible. It just was awful, got bad results. Recently, it's been much better to where now it's really even might be the preferred way to do it. I defer to my team on that. But so this stuff changes all the time. It's not the sort of thing, given the amount of expense involved, that generally it makes sense to do yourself. Um, Hire an agency partner, be it us or somebody else. Don't leave paid to you unless you have a dedicated person who you train very well to do it, who stays up with it, because it can be a very expensive thing to do badly. Okay, and I can't go through all the reasons it fails here. There's many, but it does tend to be a fairly high ROI service when it's done correctly and when it's optimized and when it works. Okay, and so that's why roughly a third of the leads that we see across our portfolio come from Google Ads. It works, stuff breaks, people go to Google, boom, there's your leads. As simple as that. Okay, 34%. And what we won't talk about here too much is maps. And we'll touch on that a little bit um, in the optimize part, because that's really where you can impact maps now. But I don't want to just run by it and ignore it. It's there. It's 51%. It's big. But there's a different approach you want to take to do well at that, and we'll talk about that a little bit down the road. What I want to talk about here is database. And what this is referring to is database reactivation. So, if you've been in business for a while, you've got a big old email list of customers. And there's a lot of stuff you can do with that. But one of the main things you should do with it is number one, market to them monthly. Send a monthly newsletter just so they know who you are. Don't be annoying. You're not, you know, running a guru campaign with 85 emails. Don't do that. But just send useful information, very dense, once a month, just so that when their spring breaks, they're like, oh, who's that garage door company that emails me all the time? Worked with them before, liked working with them, search their email, they find you, boom. There you go. You got a customer. But what you can also do is every now and then send a uh, database reactivation campaign. And this could be something like, hey, have you thought about getting a new garage door? There's some really neat new options available, and we're going to offer, here's a discount if you want to do that, right? Or if you go into like adjacent businesses, like we see some garage or companies getting into epoxy flooring, right? This is a great thing where you have an existing base of customers, email them an offer on your new service offering, flooring, right? That's what this is about. We've seen an example, list of over 5,000 plus, got over 300 replies, and 119 book jobs out of it. Out of the 24 jobs completed so far, they generated 84,000 revenues just from existing email list. So don't forget about this stuff. Your previous customers are the best ones to market to, uh, because they've already worked with you once. There's a better chance they'll work with you again. So take a break here, scorecard yourself on these. How are you doing on organic? How are you doing on paid search? How are you doing with your email list? Are you doing anything with it? As you're planning for next year, think about how you might improve in these areas and what you might do differently. Okay, so let's talk a little bit about maximizing conversions. And with this, this is a big subject, but really the most critical one is your website. And you can worry about your landing pages, you can worry about your copy, you can worry about your lead ads. All those things matter. But at the end of the day, most customers are going to convert or not be converted by your website. And so what you need to do is do the things that you can do to enhance your conversion there. Okay. And the best thing you can do is just be real. Real pictures of your team, videos of yourself, set things up where people expect it, leverage social proof. You know, these are all things you can do to just make people more comfortable doing business with you. That's really the objective here. So put things where people expect it. Have a form, get a quote, make a call. Your PPC landing pages. Show your team. Again, have a button to click. Just put things where people expect them. Make it obvious what they're supposed to do. Give them before and after galleries and things like that. Show that you're social proof. Put the form in an obvious place. Put the click to calls in an obvious place. You know, put things in the footer. Same thing. Put, free quote, book now, chat with us. Give them all the options. Just make it easy for them to do what they need to do. And add chat. So, increasingly people want to do chat. They want to do two-way messaging, as I mentioned before. Give them the opportunity to do that. Again, make it as easy as possible for people to take the action you want them to take, and they're more likely to take it. It really is simple as that. Now, getting back to maps a little bit, in order to maximize your conversions in a lot of cases, and especially on maps, you need to maximize your reputation. And there's lots of ways you can do this. There's a lot that nearby now. I think Service Titan even has integrations for this. There's Bird Eye. There's 8,000 different things you can do. It all comes down to driving reviews on maps. It makes an enormous difference. The more and better reviews that you have, the better results you're going to get from maps, the more leads you're going to get from maps, the more calls, all those things. So you have to chase these. You have to chase them consistently and do a good job of getting them, and it will pay off almost more than anything else that you can do. So, there's lots you can do for maps, but the best thing you can do for maps is get your customers to review you. And the best thing you can do for that, automated sequences are great. You should use them. You should be automatically emailing and texting customers who opt into it and all those things. But really, the best thing you can do is have your receptionist pick up the phone and call them and say, "Hey, just want to check in. How'd that job go? Everything good? Everything working? So glad to hear that. Hey, can I send you a link? Would you be open to reviewing our business? It really helps us out a lot. If you had a great experience with us, we'd love if you would tell everybody about it. Okay, that's the strongest thing you can do, bar none. It's not even close. Okay, and the last thing I want to talk about here for maximizing conversions is automation. And this one is again a relatively new thing, kind of, but a lot of times what you'll find out is lead flow is not even really the problem. The problem is not answering calls, not answering forms, and I'm shocked how many times this still happens. It blows my mind. And not getting back to people in a timely manner. And so a lot of traffic comes in, doesn't convert. A lot of web forms that aren't spam even don't convert. But the reason for that is not because they're bad leads, it's because you don't get back to them fast enough. If Because they're not just reaching out to you, they're reaching out maybe to three or four other companies, they're getting different quotes, and the people who get back to them fastest and best are the ones who are going to win. And the ones who also follow up. So once you give them a quote, check in on them a couple of times. Hey, you still considering this? You do want to look at other options, so on and so forth. But you have got to get at people quickly. If you don't, someone else will. And the solution to this is not necessarily you can't always answer your phone right away, but you can put automations in place that will help you. When someone fills out a form, it could send them an email being like, "Hey, thanks for filling out our form. Bob's going to call you within about 5 to 10 minutes as soon as he's available. Until then, here's these links you can click on our site. You can go ahead and book an estimate here. Otherwise, Bob's going to call you soon." And then ring, ring, ring. It's Bob, right? It's a great example to build trust with your customer. You tell them you're going to do something, and you do it. That's a good sign, right? And these things exist now. They're going to get even better with the AI things that are rolling out, with the AI chat, with AI receptionists. All this stuff is coming. So you will have to adopt this technology because your competitors are going to adopt this technology. And so get ready, start doing it. And there is no better time than now if you're not doing it yet. And you can build all kinds of crazy things like this. We do this for our customers in Revenue Commander. We use Revenue Commander if you've done a call with us or if you sign up for one at the end of the presentation today. You'll experience our marketing automation. We'll remind you to show up for the call. We'll ask you for more information to make sure we give you the best presentation possible. And you should do this with your customers too. It's just the way to get the best results. And so again, take a minute, scorecard yourself here. How are you doing on these things? Think about it. Are you doing any marketing automation? If you're not, now's the time to start. Okay. Are you using AI? Do you know anything about AI? This is one place that it's going to make an immediate impact, is helping you get better conversion rates. All right. The last thing we're going to talk about is optimizing results. So first thing is total spend. And obviously, you kind of set this at your budget um, based on what your objectives are. And recommendations are, and this isn't just us, but we agree with them, around 5% if you want to play it steady. Maybe you're planning on retiring or selling in a year. You don't really want to grow all that much. You don't want to take on the operational hassle. It's fine. You want to grow 6 to 15% should get you on a growth trajectory. 15 plus percent if you really want to grow. But again, you have to have the operations to keep up with it. But that comes from what's your projected revenue. If you did $1 million last year and you want to do 1.5, well, your budget on average is going to be somewhere between $100,000 and $150,000. That's what you want to do. Divide it up into 12, plan accordingly. Right? Where'd I go here? Next is your cost per lead. So you should be measuring these things. You should know how much your residential leads are, how much your commercial leads are if you chase those, in the various channels. You put your SEO retainers in there, so it's not really direct cost necessarily for those leads. You should know what your PPC cost per lead is. You have a blended average. What's your average ticket? Okay, the more detail you know these things, the more you know how one thing is working versus another, and what you can invest more in and roughly expect what the results might be, right? And if your cost per lead seems rather high, well, is that because of the nature of the lead? Commercial leads tend to be more expensive because they're more competitive to get them. So you also want to look at what is your cost per sale. So your cost per lead for commercial jobs may be much higher, but your actual cost per sale might be lower because you get more sales from that. And it's a higher ticket sale, so your return on investment is better, right? So it's not just your cost per lead, it's your cost per sale, it's your return on investment compared to your customer lifetime value. So the more in detail you know these numbers, the better you can market, the better you can optimize results around your known metrics, and it tells you what to double down on, what to spend more on, to spend less on, based on what you're seeing in these numbers. And that's what optimizing results looks like. Okay. Then that goes directly into the ROI, right? So if you don't know, half your spend is wasted, you just don't know which half it is, right? You don't want to be in that position. And you got to have the tools in place, things like Google Analytics, obviously, tracking your ranking for keywords. It's especially important for paid stuff, and it's easier in paid stuff because it tells you what these things are. But it's also things like, what if you do a radio campaign? Well, how do you measure the ROI on that? What if you do, a um, like a postcard campaign? You know, how do you accurately measure the ROI? It's not easy to do. Another thing you can do, especially to track things like SEO, is do call tracking. Things like CallRail, for example, where you put a different number on your site, and you have a pool of them, and then each visitor to your site, in a short period of time, sees a different number, but it cookies them and allows you to track them and attribute where your traffic's coming from, where your leads are coming from. So you have a better view into, okay, I got 100 leads last month, and 34 of them were from Google ads, 50 of them from the maps, and then the other 26 came from various sources, right? Knowing that information is very helpful. So think about, how are you doing on the optimization of your ROI? Are you hitting your spend targets? How do your cost per leads look year over year? Why are they changing? Are they changing for the better or the worse? How might you improve that? Should you invest elsewhere? How is your return on investment? Which channels should you spend more in? All these things are things you want to think about. Okay. And so when you scorecard yourself, think about, all right, what is the easiest thing I can address? Maybe you don't have any marketing automation in place, right? I'd start there. But maybe you're not even running ads. Maybe you haven't tried Nextdoor yet, right? Think about what you're not doing, or what is the quickest win. Knock that one out first. It'll also help you plan your focus, right? So going back to this sheet, you've got online, you've got offline, you've got ways you can engage repeat business through things like database reactivation, right? You can do SEO, you can do local search, you can do Nextdoor, you can do video ads, you can do radio, you can do TV. So I mean, there's a million different choices. So take stock of what you've done, how well it's worked, what you want to continue, and what maybe you do like to do less of, or maybe substitute something new and you haven't tried, just to see how it works for you. You want to plan that out, and you want to plan like a timing, right? So you can plan your PPC campaigns around your sales cycles. The service, you can't really, but like email, you can target around the year. If people tend to buy more new garage door installs in spring and summer, you want to run the ads for those around that time. If people aren't really taking on those projects in the winter, then don't run ads for garage door installs in winter, right? Focus on the service ads then. So you're going to want to plan things seasonally for how your business works and when people actually buy the stuff. And you know that because you're running the business, and adjust your spend and your focus accordingly. All right, so what do we cover? We covered the trends, keep an eye on AI, talked about setting clear goals, planning your marketing strategy around those goals, and planning your focus. What are you going to invest in to do that? And so, from everything we talked about, break it down to your top 3 action items. And again, I would start with things that maybe you aren't doing yet, that when I talked about them, like, that's a good idea. I haven't tried Nextdoor, but one of my competitors across the country said they use it. Maybe it's worth trying. Throw a couple $100 a month in and see how it does. Right? Maybe you're not doing any. Maybe you don't even know if the forms on your website work. I'd go check that right away. All the time, forms fail. But people don't ever call me back from forms. It drives me crazy. I can't believe it's almost 2025 and people still don't answer web forms. It blows my mind. So make sure yours work, And if you're not running paid, consider starting. You know, yeah, you don't want to spend all that money, but when it turns into jobs and they're profitable jobs because you track your numbers, that's the easiest way to rinse and repeat customers is to run paid ads. That's why all the big guys do it. Okay, and if you want some help, we're happy to talk about this with you. We offer a free market report, so we look at how you're doing on these various things, how you're doing in the maps, how are your competitors doing, what are the how you're showing up for the main keywords in your market against, versus your competitors, what kind of ads are showing up, what does the reviews look like, all these things. So we look for opportunities where you can do better, where maybe it makes sense for us to talk about working together. And, but we put together a report. You're probably already working with somebody. That's okay. It will show you how well it's going. And if there's too many opportunities for improvement that don't make sense, then maybe it makes sense to try some of the things that we're talking about. But we'd be happy to talk with you. Give us a call. Go to garagemarketers.com/apply now. You can experience some of our own marketing automation. I'd be happy to talk to you, put together that presentation, and see if there's opportunity for you to implement. And of course, you can always hire us to help you with it. And if you haven't yet, go to garagemarketers.com, download that 2025 planner, and plan your year. So I hope this was helpful to you. As usually our biggest or our busiest webinar or video of the year. Hope you got some value out of it. Hope you're thinking about how you're going to attack the market next year. Things are looking good. Uh, the direction of the country seems positive. People are excited. It doesn't look like the economic headwinds are going to be as strong as they might have been otherwise if some things had gone differently recently. And so I'm seeing some optimism in the market, and I think people are going to spend, and we're going to see some growth. And so get out there, plan your year, and go get it. And in any way that we can help you, we'd love to. If we can't or we don't talk, I hope you enjoyed this, and I hope you have an absolutely successful and fantastic 2025 for you and your garage door company. Thanks for watching.